guys, PIEGUYRULZ here, and welcome back to the rehash, revival, recast, reboot, some order of that. I am here, as always, with my co-host, MonstersReview. I don't ask you to be here, you're just always here.
Yeah, it's I come here after work, have a couple drinks.
And we are joined today by special guest from the Ink Tank, Ash.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome.
All right, so we got a interesting show this week. We've got two Steve Marmel shows, Fairly OddParents, Danny Phantom, both surprisingly similar stories. Although, which one has the better story? It may surprise you. Mm-hmm. We've got a lot of news this week, and so because of that, we're also going to skip the questions. Lots of reboot news. Lots of sequel, reboot, rehash, revival.
That's the best kind of news, is to hear them being remade and everything.
Yeah, it's literally. I don't want to say literally not a week goes by, but like we've had maybe 2 weeks thus far out of doing this for like 13 weeks, 12 weeks, that like there wasn't some sort of reboot news. And even then, I'm sure we could have still found something. Like,
yeah, there's always something. Everyone's like, okay, we need an idea for a new show. What are we gonna do? Let's take this old show and make it new. Okay.
So how you guys doing today?
I'm doing good, surviving. Got off work a little while ago.
Nice.
Chilling, drawing, working on Inktober, trying to catch up.
There you go.
How you doing, Monsters?
I'm doing good. I'm not really under the weather right now, but I am dealing with some allergy symptoms, like common cold, that sort of stuff.
Whoa, hang on. Allergy and common cold are not the same thing.
I said common cold symptoms.
Allergies are a common thing, though.
So just like a bit of a runny nose and sinus headaches. Not fun to deal with, but I'm pulling through.
That's fair. I'm not trying to minimize your pain. We've been at this long enough that
right now.
We've been at this long enough. I feel like I can just relentlessly tease you and
so much misery.
No consequence.
Yeah.
Feel free to do the same.
Gosh.
Yeah. No, but I hope you feel better, dude. I know what allergies are like, and they suck.
Yep.
All right.
So how are you doing?
Well, thank you for asking, Monster.
I finally got it.
Yeah, you did. I'm doing all right. Again, had another busy week. Just lots of stuff going on in my personal life. Maybe something going on in YouTube sphere. Can't promise anything, but maybe. But yeah, good things are happening. And I guess we'll transition right along into what we watched, because that was. I'll go first this week because I never get to go first. But Monsters, remember like a few weeks ago when you watched Venom?
Yes, I did.
And I kind of like scoffed at you pretty hard.
Yeah.
Okay, so a friend wanted to see Venom and I got dragged along. Was not my choice. Would not have seen the movie. However, dude, I don't think you're wrong.
Oh, okay.
No spoilers. I haven't seen nothing of it yet. And
No spoilers. This is just talking about the genres and the tone of the film. But I was pleasantly surprised. Like, I still don't think it's a technically good movie.
Oh, yeah, no, me neither.
Okay. But it was an enjoyable time, and maybe like a sequel could fix some of the issues it had to make it really good, because there were elements in here that worked really well. You wouldn't necessarily expect it or believe it, but there's a pretty good buddy, like almost buddy cop vibe to sections of this movie.
Oh, for sure.
And it's interesting. I mean, because like the thing is that it tries to be a superhero / comedy / horror film. And I'm not saying you can't blend 3 genres like that together, because the Marvel movies have definitely blended at least 2, and some of them have even had horror elements as well. But Venom does not know how to eloquently transition between. There'll be one scene where it's like, the symbiote's inside you and it's killing you and you're gonna eat people and everything is awful. And then the next scene, he's sitting in a lobster tank. Like, that's not a joke.
Right.
I mean, that is a joke, but I'm not kidding. So like, but I also think that's kind of maybe a part of the fun of the movie. It's just how bad it is at transitioning between the comedy and the horror.
Yeah.
But no, I honestly, if you were kind of interested in this, I do say go see it. You know, as much as I scoff, it does make for a fun viewing experience, regardless of how good or bad a movie it is. I still think it's fun enough if you like comedy, if you like superhero type stuff, if you want to see a darker superhero, so to speak, anti-hero, whatever you call them. The MCU isn't doing that like at all. The Guardians are the most morally gray, and even then, they're basically just kind of roguish.
Yeah.
Like they ain't eating no one, as far as I remember. just stealing handicapped people's limbs or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, just things that normal good people do.
How much for the arm?
But yeah, no, I pleasantly surprised, and I do hope they make a sequel, and I do feel like they could, if they tidied some things up, it could be really good. I don't think it belongs in the MCU, but that's okay. It doesn't have to.
I agree. And they should have stuck with the rated R tone too, because I'm pretty sure that it was supposed to be rated R, but they cut a bunch of it out.
Was it not rated R?
No, yeah, it was PG-13.
Really?
I think
wow.
Part of what I heard, because I watch analysis videos and stuff sometimes, but
Mm-hmm.
part of what I heard with that was they were doing that more of marketing. If you make it rated R, you're kind of restricting who all can see it, and overall you'd be making less unless it is a super popular movie.
Logan and Deadpool both did really well, and those are both rated R superhero movies.
Yeah,
Right.
but I think with those, they have very drastic different tones to them, so it draws in different types of audiences. Like,
I mean, I also wonder if it's a part of the nature of Venom, because depending on how they wanted to write this, they could have made him more unlikable. They could have made him like more awful.
Yeah.
Like there's a deliberate effort in this movie to make it so that yes, he, you know, the symbiote is evil basically. But they kind of reel it back and still try to give him and Eddie noble goals, and they kind of have Eddie balance him out, and like they could have gone full complete like just evil mode with the character, really dark, really evil all the time. And I almost wonder if some of it that was cut was to pull back on that, because depending on what you cut or what you put in, the symbiote could be either really likable or like a really hateable villain.
maybe they didn't want to make him like the Spider-Man 3 version of him with Topher Grace.
Which,
Yeah.
by the way, I had somebody that tell me that watched Venom say that they liked Topher Grace Venom more than Tom Hardy Venom.
Really?
Which I
Dude,
strongly
No,
disagree
no,
with.
no.
Tom Hardy
No,
was
no,
so good in this.
Yeah,
like,
I thought he was funny.
Genuinely.
I haven't seen it yet, but making that comparison though, like the Topher Grace one just seemed comical to me. He's kind of like the dude that'll like kick you and then just stand there and laugh, be like,
No, that is it. Like, I like Spider-Man 3 unironically. I think it's an awful movie, but I think it's so bad that it's good. But like Venom actually has some decent qualities to it.
Yeah.
so it looks really good. It's already quotable from the
I
trailers.
wouldn't say it's really good, but
Well, the thing, I also want to say the the CG and like the effects. It's funny because when it's like symbiote particles crawling across like the floor, it looks sick. That looks so cool. But then there's other scenes where it's a big dumb goofy Venom face over Eddie Brock's face, and it looks like the stupidest thing ever. But that's comic books, you know? I mean, it's sometimes it's gonna look goofy, and that's okay. But some of the effects in this movie are really good. I don't want people thinking that like some of the stuff that was in the trailers I'm saying is really good, because some of that stuff is not good at all.
Yeah, no.
but
Some
yeah.
of the trailer parts looked goofy. Like whenever he like
Yeah.
blorped himself back onto the motorcycle. That seemed real. I started laughing at that. I was like, was that supposed to be cool? That
Oh,
just looks like something out of Prototype.
Yeah, you'll laugh a lot at this movie. It does raise an interesting question that I kind of wanted to bring up though. At what point is a character not a character? Not a character, but is a given character not that same character it was inspired by? Because I don't like, so it's Venom, but no Spider-Man, no Peter Parker, not set in New York City. There's no other like superheroes or villains. It's just about the symbiotes. Venom in the comics, from what I've read, I mean, it varies, but Venom is a little more like animalistic versus this movie where he is basically intelligent, speaks in full sentences, uh, kind of humanoid at parts. So I just kind of like I don't have a problem with them adapting him in this way, but I almost wonder if you were to call the movie just like spooky scary symbiote, well, you probably wouldn't do that, but like some generic, like when aliens attack or something, or the symbiote, or symbiosis, with like the O being some sort of like creepy graphic.
It's just Venom's eye.
Yeah, but like at what point, like I don't know, would this movie be any different? I guess expectations make it important.
I feel like with that, maybe it's because in the comics, I haven't read up on a bunch of the comics, but from what I've seen with some of them, it seems as though every time you see Venom, at least in the beginning and stuff, it's like after he's already been with Peter Parker for a little while and then was forcibly removed.
Yeah.
From what I've seen in the trailers, that doesn't happen with him and Eddie. Eddie doesn't really have the power to actually remove him and get him off, so he's not super vengeful yet.
I mean, I won't say anything on that, but yeah, but like that's the thing. A lot of what makes Venom is, and I know people were talking about this. Yeah, I mean, is the fact that he was a part of like that's what makes him the gray character that he is because he was a part of a superhero. Peter guided him. He tried to kind of lure Peter in a different direction, and that balance is what made Venom a very interesting anti-hero for years afterwards. Like he's the whole reason why they created Carnage is because Carnage is like the villain of Venom, because Venom like he's an alien and can be, depending on who he's bonded with, can be good or bad. He's not strictly a villain, but he's definitely not a good guy either. So I don't know, like what do you think, Monsters? Like at what point in an adaptation should you maybe just say, like, listen, this is just a different character altogether. This is inspired by, but it's not. Like, does it matter even? I don't know.
Well, like I said earlier, I believe that they are trying to integrate this interpretation of Venom into the MCU. So, I mean, yeah, they are holding on to the whole Eddie Brock Venom thing, but there also is a bunch of differences. I mean, it's the same idea. I still think it resembles original Venom. I don't think that it's that far off.
It's so far gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't know. All right, well, that was Venom. So I just kind of wanted to vindicate you. I was wrong for scoffing.
How about those end credit scenes too? Weren't those cool?
I didn't stay to the second one.
Really? The second one was the best one.
The person I was with wanted to leave. I know.
What?
Trust me, I know. The first one. We can't really talk about it, but I mean, that's a cool teaser, I guess. I was kind of confused at first until the very last line. But
right.
Was that character even in the movie, though?
No.
Okay, because I was going to say, like, should I be recognizing this, or is this like a Thanos situation?
Right.
And it turned out, I think it was a Thanos situation.
Right.
I mean, I know the character from other things,
right.
But I was like, is that a nice Carrot Top cameo? Like, what's going on here?
See, now I'm trying to piece together information and figure out what it is now.
Good luck, friend. Good luck.
Okay.
It's we're talking about Deadpool.
Oh.
No, that's a different studio altogether.
I was about to say, I'm like, I know I'm out of the loop on a lot of things, but I've seen Deadpool movies many times.
Okay, so that's the funny thing is that this, again, that's Fox, which is then going to be Disney, which has worked with Sony for Homecoming, so I guess it's not impossible. But like, dude, I could see Venom being incorporated into the Deadpool universe.
Yes.
Like, I could see him fitting there very easily because of the goofier nature of parts of this film. Like, it wouldn't really be out of place, to be honest, at least in a Deadpool movie. Maybe not in the next Venom, but yeah.
Honestly, they could just go with like a whole series of like anti-hero movie, do Punisher and stuff like that. Make that its own little
like Suicide Squad, but for Marvel.
Kind of.
Punisher did have a Netflix show,
That's
which,
the point.
from what I hear, is good. But the Netflix verse is slowly dying, so
yeah, I don't know. I never
R.I.P.
watched
Iron
it.
Fist and Luke Cage.
Yeah, I mean, some of it's really good.
I haven't seen any of it.
I haven't either.
It's pretty detached from the MCU in general, despite it trying to say otherwise. But no, I would love to see. I still want to see Marvel do an anti-hero movie. I was It's not even a spoiler. Loki quote unquote dies in Avengers. That's not a spoiler because like
He dies in
who
everything.
the heck even knows? Yeah, he dies in like literally half of his appearances. He fakes his death.
Yeah.
So I think this might be for real. But if it's not, I still want a Loki movie because Loki is like the only character established in the MCU that could effectively pull off an anti-hero role.
That is
because. Yeah,
that's a good point. That would be really cool.
Because he's straight up murdered people. He's also made amends with his brother. He's
also
helped,
hilarious.
Right. He's also one of the better characters. Tom Hiddleston. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those antlers, right? All right.
Okay.
That's enough of Ben's superhero stuff. Monsters, what did you watch this week?
So, I revisited one of my favorite episodes of Camp Laszlo.
Oh, here we go.
See?
It's such
Ash likes it, right?
It's one of my favorite shows growing up. I have the
Thank
theme
you.
song memorized. I love it.
If you like Camp Laszlo, maybe you'll like the SpongeBob Movie 3. Oh, but anyway, keep going, Monsters. Keep going, Monsters.
So, the episode I watched is Burpless Bean. Again, one of my favorite episodes of the show. It basically, what happens is, some of the Bean Scouts are singing a rendition of the song Camptown Races, and it's being conducted by Edward. And this rendition in particular involves a lot of burping. But Laszlo can't burp his part of the song, so Edward basically spends the episode trying to teach Laszlo how to burp.
Quality writing in the 2000s. That's all I
Yeah.
have to say.
I know it sounds dumb. I love the episode, though.
That's kind of what the whole series was like, that type of writing, and I enjoyed it. It was kind of dumb but entertaining.
I prefer when Heifer burped. I'm pretty sure he did like the alphabet backwards burping or something.
Yeah. And then I also watched a video by a YouTuber named Max Gilardi, also known as Hot Diggity Demon.
Yes.
He does a series called Brain Dump, and he had a video called The Apu I Know.
Oh no!
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's a response. It's basically an analysis of the character Apu from The Simpsons and a response to the documentary that came out last year criticizing Apu. And I thought it was very well put together, very well animated, and he brought up a lot of great points.
Very timely too.
Yeah.
That was sarcasm.
Yeah.
Because he's later than The Simpsons' own response on that.
Right.
Yeah, I watched that same special a couple days ago for Hot Diggity
The documentary or the Max Gilardi video?
I watched a bit of the documentary. I
Yeah.
honestly couldn't sit through it though that much. But then I watched Hot Diggity Demon's response to it. I thought it was really cool considering the type of writing and comedy that he goes for, and in this he took such a serious note, and I was actually impressed with how serious he took the whole thing.
Yeah, Max Gilardi, he's an amazing animator. He's made tons of YouTube videos throughout the years, so his Brain Dump series is very well produced, and I thought he did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Ash, did you watch anything in this past week? Or it could be in further back if anything you want to talk about. Sorry.
Well, it's kind of just a generalized for this month. I've mainly been watching just as much Halloween things as I can because it's my favorite holiday. Like Halloween specials, all those really weird decorating and baking shows and stuff like that. Like this time of the year, that is my stuff. That is my blood. Hocus Pocus is on my TV at least 16 times.
Halloween Town?
Yeah, dude, come on. I got the original
Yes.
VHS hooked up to a 4K TV.
How about Twitches?
You know, admittedly,
No.
Admittedly, it's not as bad as you'd think. The first one, at least. The second one is awful, but
That's a portmanteau of Twin Witches, right?
yes, it was
Yeah.
Tia and Tamara, but if they were owned by Disney, is
Oh,
basically
goodness.
what that was. Like, I will admit, my young child brain, before I started realizing what was good, when I was a kid, I used to really want them to do a crossover between Twitches and Halloween Town because they're both Disney, and I was like, why hasn't
Yeah.
it happened yet? It's perfect setting. Other than that,
It might still happen in today's culture of reboots.
yes, but they're gonna
Yeah, like
they're,
35-year-old Tia and
they're
Tamara.
gonna change every single actor in the movie, like they did with Halloween Town 4.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
remember that.
They thought we wouldn't noticed.
Yeah, that one's the one we don't talk about.
Yeah, it has good parts. They just made a big mistake wise with the changing the main actress. Like, I will never not love that character with the ears and nose that no one can actually pronounce his name unless you have like a Coke with you.
I mean, I think that's a part of the fun of Halloween 10 is just kind of watching the characters grow over like 3 movies. So,
other than that, mainly just drawing, listening to music, listening to a lot of like Oni plays and stuff because they're hilarious to just listen to.
Nice.
I was just rewatching his Dragon's Ball PP video. I love it.
It's great. It's so funny. I love how
Yeah.
much shame he feels for it, even though he still loves the fact that he made him.
Right.
That's pretty much what I've watched and listened to for like the generalized month.
All right. Cool. Definitely not the wrong time to do that. All right. So, news. There was news.
Lots of it.
All right. Want to get the? Well, I mean, I can't even say want to get the. They're all big ones, honestly. They're all pretty interesting pieces of news, I guess.
Right.
I'm a bit surprised by it for this week because I looked at him like a little while before this and didn't know anything about him. I honestly was a little shocked. Like,
all right, I guess we'll start with the 2 with like the least information first, and then we'll move on to the big yellow bomb.
That's what's going to be called when they release the trailers eventually.
Yeah,
in
that's
theaters this summer.
Oh goodness. All right. So, the Teen Titans.
Yes.
I mean, so Monsters, you found this. Give a little context to this because I'm still confused as to where this even came from.
So apparently this is like a DVD extra on either I don't remember, it was either on like a recent Teen Titans Go DVD.
Is it to the movies DVD maybe?
Yeah, or that one. I'm not 100% sure, but I think this was a DVD extra.
Oh, okay,
And
that makes sense.
For those of you that haven't seen it, it's basically a short kind of like a hype video almost, and it's basically the Teen Titans Go theme song intro sequence intercut with the original Teen Titans intro sequence, and then the logos combined at the end saying Teen Titans versus Teen Titans Go coming soon.
And yeah, and Robin at the start is, I mean, Teen Titans Go Robin, you can tell because he sounds obnoxious.
Yeah.
That's how you can always tell.
And then Cyborg at the end, he goes, "This is gonna be good."
yeah, but he's like, let's give them all what they've been waiting for, or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes a little more sense because you just sent me this video, and I looked around, and I'm like, why is this on some random like DVD person's YouTube channel? Like, why, if this was officially announced, like, why isn't this? But yeah, because I was like, it almost, because it's in Go animation, because it's not quite like the original Teen Titans. Like, it's the style, but it's still color wise, and I don't know, just line wise, it's not exactly right. So I'm like, this is really good if a fan made this. And I mean, it doesn't look bad, but yeah, this was one of the things that I guess a lot of other people were thinking when the whole stinger to the Teen Titans Go to the movies had the original Titans talking about a way to get back. This was kind of like one of the things where it's like, people were hyping for another season of Teen Titans, and it might still happen, but I always kind of figured that more likely it's very possible that, knowing how Teen Titans Go loves to just like, I don't know, make fun of people who like the original show, it's more than likely that they would do a crossover episode first, at least, and then maybe based on that, bring the other show back. So it's not, I mean, it's surprising. It's definitely surprising, but it still seemed like a not completely out of left field. Like, it seemed like there was forethought and a definite possibility. I mean, they crossed over with Young Justice characters, so why not, right?
Yeah, apparently this was on the Teen Titans Go to the Movies DVD.
Okay.
I completely forgot they had the actual Young Justice characters in there for an episode. Because I've only seen random episodes of that show. I've never watched it.
That was that was the one I reviewed. That's Let's Get Serious.
Yep.
First off, I love the premise of that episode. Actually, it was pretty funny to me. It's I'm stating my opinion right here. Everyone has their opinions on the show and everything. Like, I'm not gonna say it's bad because I haven't watched that much of it. And it doesn't seem like a show for me, so I'm not gonna pass bad judgment on it. But from what I've seen, it's not terrible. At least a couple episodes. Like, I love all the meta stuff that they do sometimes. From what I've seen.
That's fair. Like, the thing is that if you were to pick just random episodes of the show, you might end up with some really good ones. I think the kind of people who think that literally every episode is Waffles are the kind of people who have not seen anything other than Waffles, which, I mean, like, that doesn't excuse Waffles' existence, but, you know, and that doesn't even make the series as a whole good, but, like, it's not every episode is like this awful...
a giant hamburger fighting a burrito.
Yeah, I guess. Let's Get Serious bothered me more. I mean, this was years ago, but it bothered me more because that was a big response. And also because it does the Teen Titans Go thing of, let's take one singular idea and try to push that joke to the point where you never want to hear this joke being made again. But anyway, this is not a review of that.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're fine.
But yeah, when I saw this, I thought it was fan-made, and I was actually really impressed.
Yeah, same.
Just because of how good it looked in the remix of the song. I was like, this is actually not bad. If someone wants to do like a mini animated series of this would be great.
Would you consider that a remix of the theme song, or would you consider it a half unmix? Because the theme song to Teen Titans Go is a remix of the original. Well, it's like isn't it like an unmix at that point?
I would say it's like someone started playing the original Teen Titans song and like stopped the record halfway through and just started skipping it back and forth as fast as they could. They tried to do that thing, and it just turned out really weird.
Can we please add remix to the title of our podcast?
Recast, rehash, remix.
Remix!
That's y'all need to do that if you ever do a thing where you just review all of the like good theme songs for shows and stuff. That seems like it'd be really cool.
Well, that'll be when we talk about
like
music.
Yo Yogi.
That'll be our music podcast, but we just talk about theme songs to cartoons.
Yeah, we're also inviting somebody to remix our theme song.
Our theme song is amazing, made by an amazing guy named Wiley Koyote.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to give. Actually,
character.
I'm glad you mentioned it because I did want to give him a shout out because he does really good music, and thank him for letting us use that as our intro. But anyway, yeah. I mean, what do you guys think? Are you guys excited for this?
Honestly, I kind of am. Only in the sense of whenever they had the teaser I didn't see the movie yet, but I've seen the clip online. When I saw that and then compared it to kind of the meta moments they had in the show, it seems as though the real Titans are trapped somewhere in the show of Go, and it seems like this crossover versus thing might be them trying to escape it. Like the whole idea that I had comes from that episode where Control Freak literally tells them that he rebooted them because they kept beating him.
Yep.
So it could be like each of them is actually stuck somewhere in the subconscious of the crappy Go version. And they're like trying to fight their way out or something. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, like here's the thing, good or bad, like I'm excited because it's something that's interesting to talk about, and that's always what I love. I mean, obviously I love good stuff, but if something is interesting to talk about, like the crossover with the Powerpuff Girls, like Cartoon Nexus, like whatever, good or bad, it's still interesting to talk about. And actually, yeah, Nexus too. I mean, because like between the references to the original show, especially that in the show, but especially in the Control Freak episode, the stinger at the end of Go to the Movies and crossover Nexus, which wasn't written by the writers, but like was made by people who might be in the know if there is something planned. They did that joke in there. So there's just been a lot of kind of foreshadowing for this. So yeah, good or bad, I'm excited. But I will say, if they do this, they have to make the Titans actually act like the Titans, like the regular. If they try to make them caricatures in any way, if they try to do something stupid, pull some shenanigans, if they make them overly serious, if they pull a Let's Get Serious, right, and make them obnoxiously deadpan, I'm sorry, but like it's
not gonna work.
You're dragging the original show up literally to crap on it. Like that you're I know like the whole like betrayed my childhood. I wouldn't say that literally, but that I feel is one instance where they are actually taking something that was good and literally making it bad.
Yeah,
If they do
would,
that.
they would be literally crapping on the original one, even though they're inspired by it. And I'm just
right.
That
and
would upset me so much.
I don't want to be pessimistic and say they're going to do that. It's just literally
It's
every
very
other
high
time.
chance.
Yeah, every other time they've done it. I mean, but to be fair, at least in the Powerpuff Girls crossover, they didn't do that with the girls. The girls are more like themselves than they've been in any reboot. So fingers crossed. How about you, Monsters?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm hyped. All we have is that motion graphics teaser thing, so I don't really have anything to judge it off of yet, obviously, but I hope it's good. I hope that there's something I can take from it and enjoy. So
I just hope it's not a fake out. I think
Dude,
that would be the worst.
I swear to God. It's gonna make me so sad if they don't do something with the OG Titans.
All right, so moving on to another piece of news that doesn't really have too much information attached to it, and I also kind of want to talk about the nature of this. So, Courage the Cowardly Dog is apparently coming back for Boomerang,
Ooh.
as announced by the creator of the show, John Dilworth.
yes,
Yeah, and basically, first of all, before we talk about the show, can we just talk about like how weird is it that we live in a day and age where like stuff like this gets announced off of just a Facebook post by the, I mean, it's the creator, but it's not like it's not like a high profile or anything. It's just like, hey guys, Courage is coming back. Like,
well, I find it odd because most of the time when Cartoon Network, even for Boomerang, when they announce new shows, it's like they have their PR team right on it.
right.
Like, the Hollywood Reporter makes an article about it. Variety, like every single like major news outlet will post an article about it. So I was surprised this was like very low key.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's why I almost like I asked, like, is this real? Like, I mean, I don't see why the creator of the show would lie, but it just seems like a very odd way to announce it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It might be that they're like, it might be kind of like Cartoon Network just isn't ready to say a lot of stuff about it yet. Maybe they're not ready to announce it. Just I don't know. It
But then
seems
why?
weird.
Yeah, usually you're under like an NDA for that sort of thing. I mean, maybe he didn't expect that many people to see it because I couldn't even see his original post because I don't have a Facebook. So yeah, maybe he just didn't expect someone to blow it up.
Maybe he was trying to do it kind of like for a family and friends type thing. It's like, hey guys, I just got word that we're gonna be doing, like, I'm gonna get to make more of this show I made a really long time ago. Get hyped, and then we don't see any news or anything about it for like another 2 years because it's in production or something.
It's a bit confusing in the way that he words it because he says, we are expecting to begin development on a prequel to Courage the Cowardly Dog called Before Courage for Boomerang. So they're expecting to begin development. Does that mean that it's like, are they going to pitch it? Like, has it been approved by the network, or are they just going to develop it and then pitch it to the network?
I think that's probably what it's gonna be. So at least something kind of like that.
Honestly, from the way he phrases it, I wouldn't be surprised if it was just like a TV movie.
Yeah,
right. Like, does
I could
anything
see
in here
that.
say that it's actually? He just says we are expecting to begin development for a prequel to CCD titled Before Courage for Boomerang.
It would be an instant cult hit if that were the case, if it were a movie, because like I was not a giant fan of that show as a child. It scared me a lot. It disturbed me a lot. But I know that there is like a big following of that show.
I love that show to death.
It scared me so much. I love Courage himself. He's hilarious. His voice is awesome. The things I do for love. It's his voice is so funny to me, but like the show just creeped me out so much.
Oh, could you imagine if this was for Adult Swim?
Oh my
the
God,
nightmares.
They'd take that the extra mile. Yeah.
I don't know that I even want that, but that would be interesting. But no, doesn't even say. Is this for Boomerang too? Is this the streaming service? Is this the channel? Is this?
I'm assuming it's the streaming service.
They could do an exclusive type thing.
He should. Maybe he's doing cartoons on a boomerang. Maybe it's just storyboards that he's gonna throw on a literal boomerang at you.
Yeah.
It's like, if the network likes
then
it,
they
it'll
flare
come
it
back
back.
eventually.
Yeah,
What's
I mean,
confusing about this is it's a prequel, assuming it's before Eustace and Muriel,
Find courage.
rescue Courage. So
right.
how is it going to work if he's not in the middle of nowhere?
Well, that's the thing. We don't see a lot of this. We see a lot of reboots that are like reimagine the original show, slightly different things.
Yeah.
Like that's the Ben 10 reboot, the Powerpuff Girls reboot. That's what maybe the Rugrats reboot is going to be coming out to be.
No. We don't need to talk about that. That's. I saw one teaser image and I'm already sick to my stomach.
There wasn't any actual images of it.
Really? I saw this one picture of Chucky in CG and it was disturbing.
You're looking at the maybe from one of the video games. That's what I did for a thumbnail.
I'm really hoping it was fake. It was very high quality. It was really gross.
Oh,
looking,
are you talking about the hyper realistic Chucky that was going around? Because that's not
real.
No,
it was like it looked like something out of the Peanuts movie from a couple years ago, but in a softer lighting style. But it was Chucky. Like it looked like an actual character render. It was weird.
As far as I know, there's absolutely no official thing, and because of that, people have kind of been pulling for whatever they could for like articles and stuff.
It could have just been something someone made in Blender or something.
Anyway, on Courage, I mean, so really, what we know about this is we know it's a prequel. I mean, I'll be honest, like I like Muriel. I like murals, guys.
You're just like walking around downtown, looking at walls. They're nice.
Those classic Courage characters, the farmer and the giant wall that's been painted. Oh, that was an unusual marriage, but they made it work. No, I mean, like I like those characters a lot, but it was Courage and the monsters that always kind of kept me interested in coming back. Muriel was. I mean, the love of Courage from her was very important to the show, but I don't think that it's so important that you couldn't have it, and it would still feel like Courage, I think. So a prequel is an interesting, and it's not. It's funny because it used to be like, oh, well, prequels are like you've run out of ideas for sequels, so you do prequels. But now it's like, well, at least you're doing something different. And that's the sign of originality now. I mean, hey, Planet Sheen is very original. Not that that's a prequel, but it's a spin-off instead of a reboot. So I don't know. I mean, I'm excited. There's not much news on this, and it's very odd news. And honestly, if I don't think he's lying, but if maybe he announced this too soon and plans fell through for it, which happens all the time in the industry, not usually announcing it too soon, but I'd be a little bummed, but it's more just interesting news, and maybe it'll be good, maybe not. I love Courage, but I can be okay if that show never comes back. Like some really good episodes already existing.
I could totally see it as as a mini TV movie or just an exclusive to the streaming service or something like that. Like it could be the whole like how the announcer says in the beginning of every episode, he was. It has
abandoned as a pup. Yeah, he was raised by Muriel, who lives in the middle of nowhere. Sorry.
The movie literally could just be pick up on him as a pup, and like he gets separated from his family. He starts out all happy, and then over time you see why he gets so sad and scared of things throughout the movie. And the movie literally ends with the scene from the opening clip where Muriel. I have to say it in his voice, or I can't say it.
The things I do for wall art.
When Muriel finds him in the gutter and saves him or whatever, and like picks him up, like that could be a good ending to the movie, I think.
Well, you're describing the last episode of the show.
Really? Was that the last episode?
So it was a half flashback episode where.
Oh, boo. Well, nothing's original, even if you don't know about it.
No, I mean, I like it. It definitely left out a lot of details, but that's kind of where the jumping off point would be. I would assume based upon that last episode.
Just take the live action Garfield movie and replace him with Courage.
Oh,
there you go.
Oh no.
Have Bill Murray voice him too. It'd be perfect.
The things I do for love.
The things I do for money. I mean love.
Oh,
the things I do for lasagna.
I guess we obligatorily do have to mention that the Fog of Courage came out, or sorry, didn't come out a few years ago. Came out in Europe. There is a reboot. I guess you'd call it reboot or whatever. Of Courage the Cowardly Dog. One single short, all in CG, which is interesting, but surprisingly didn't seem too off. For the show. The show always did kind of employ some CG for certain very special elements, like creepy violin girls, and
Or like that entire room made of flesh that was crying for half an hour. Ugh.
What? I don't
That was an
remember
episode.
What?
That was the episode that scared me the most as a
Wall
kid.
of Flesh?
No. It was like
Is
a
it a
whole,
mural?
Yes, mural. That's what she's a wall of flesh. She's covered in tattoos. That's why everyone thinks she's a mural. No, it's like an entire underground room, like made of a guy, and it's like his heart is on stage or something. That's what I remember from the show. Like it ends with the thing being like killed and him and Muriel escaping the room or something. It's the reason I stopped watching it. It was.
I mean,
creepy.
that sounds faintly familiar. Just don't forget to return the slab. All right. So that's Courage. So then the last thing.
Can I give a small intro to it?
Go for it.
There you go. That's all I have.
Oh my god, that was actually pretty good.
Thank you.
All right. So we know that there was going to be a third SpongeBob movie since basically either just before or just after the second movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is not new news, and in fact, the title "It's a Wishful Sponge." Sorry, it's a Wonderful Sponge. That's the Fairly OddParents episode that parodies that. Also a classic, but no, we knew the title a few months ago, and just recently, apparently, one of the producers from Paramount, I believe, was at this convention or this expo over in Europe and was talking about the movie, and a lot of information came out, and there was a lot of kind of snap judgments being made, myself included, because some of the stuff that was said in this interview was particularly awful. I mean, some of it is just straight up news, like just facts, like the fact that the movie is going to be all CG. That's a fact. Elements of the movie are going to be camp themed, possibly just the intro. Also, elements of the movie are going to be an origin story for SpongeBob. And then so those are facts. Those are things that are definitely going to happen to some extent in the film. And then there was also just kind of like an interview with the person, and the person said something really not great about like why this is CG, just saying, what was it, that it was too hard to do a 2D picture. What was the quote exactly?
I remember reading something like that in the article. They were saying like it would have been too difficult to do the entire movie in a 2D scape, and that's why they decided to do a 3D. I think is what something along those lines or whatever. But they were saying it was too difficult.
Those have the big tentpole movies are our meat and potatoes, she said. Those have to reach a broad audience. I don't think we can do 2D movies, to be honest. I think that's hard. Now, wait, to preempt anything else, I do want to say that one of the reporters that was at this thing, she kind of came to bat for this executive, this person, and said what they meant was not that the animation is too hard, but that the market isn't as interested in 2D films, and to market that kind of film would be difficult. Now, to be honest with you, I don't think that's a ton better. That is definitely better than being like, it's too hard to do 2D animation, guys, because that's quite frankly a ridiculous statement. But even still, I don't like that.
Here's one of the biggest issues with that statement. With the whole marketability factor, people don't go to SpongeBob for CG. Like, people go to SpongeBob for SpongeBob. It's not like it's this random CGI film and, they have to market it like that. No, it's like SpongeBob is SpongeBob. It doesn't matter what form of animation it is.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if literally anything,
the sequel.
If literally, well, the sequel is part. I mean, we can, but if
no,
anything,
that's what I'm saying is people still saw the sequel even though what it was.
Right, but it was also part CG, which I'm sure the executives would be like, "Oh, that's why they came out to see the movie."
No, that's what I'm meaning. Is people saw it still, even though it was mostly 2D, and then they had the CG elements. Like, it doesn't matter Like what you were
Right,
saying,
but
it doesn't matter
but it
what
was
form it's in.
it was heavily marketed as a CG movie. There's no 2D animation on
Which
that
was
box.
false advertising.
There's no
But
2D animation on the front, back of the box. None of the posters. Nothing.
yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that.
Which I'm not. Hey, I'm not saying is right, but that's what executives think. They're like, oh, well, we marketed it like this and it worked. It's great, amazing. What about the first movie that was all 2D? That was 10 years ago. Kids don't want that crap. And
It
like,
was actually Plankton behind all of it. He's just sitting back there.
I don't know how true. I'm not a market analyst. I don't know how true it is. I mean, I know Disney did do some 2D animated movies about 10 years ago that bombed pretty hard, like Home on the Range, Brother Bear.
The sequel to every other movie that they did.
Well, I mean theatrically, but yeah, like, so there is things that point to the fact that this isn't necessarily complete, like just a complete load of barnacles. But if anything, you're absolutely right in that SpongeBob is not a CG character. Never. Honestly, even in the show, I mean, they've recently done 2 stop motion specials, which were differently animated and interesting.
They weren't bad.
But they've never even done a CG episode. Like, never.
Yeah, I've never thought about that.
They've had like a small. They've been using CG for a long time. I mean, I guess if you want to say Sandcastles in the Sand is a CG episode, but that's not. I mean, it has CG elements. No, but it's like, why take the character and turn him into a different animation style? It's not even marketability. I think it's just they're cheap. That's honestly what it is. I think it's cheaper.
Yeah, immensely.
And that's a terrible excuse. I always pulled out the figure from 10 years ago around Truth or Square, where it was something like, oh god, I think it was like SpongeBob is worth like 1.5 billion at the time, like 10 years ago. Like, SpongeBob is one of the most profitable cartoons. End of sentence.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't afford to make that movie right, then you don't know how to manage your money, or you're cheap. That's the
Sounds
bottom
like
line.
the Paramount executives are Mr. Krabs.
Yeah, but I mean, no, that's the bottom line. And like, I know it's like, oh, nerds get on the internet getting worked up about SpongeBob, but no, it's like, legitimately, don't allow studios to get away with this crap. Like, because they will. The bar will keep lowering. And I don't even mean about the quality of the movie. We have no idea how good or bad it's going to be. But this decision was not a creative decision. This was a, let's be as cheap as possible. These movies, let's follow the trend. All these other movies have been CG. There hasn't been a 2D animated movie since Teen Titans Go to the Movie and My Little Pony Friendship is Magic movie, both of which
they were very well animated, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. But
they performed modestly to not very good at the box office.
Right. Go was not a loss, but only because Go was cheap to make. Because I mean, I don't want to see SpongeBob animated like Teen Titans Go. Please no.
That's the next crossover.
Goodness. No, but both of which weren't huge. Let's just say they weren't huge money makers. They made money, but they weren't huge money makers. And so I'm sure as an executive, you look at that and you say, well, 2D animation just bored nothing. But it's just like, again, it's like, what's the show made with? Like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, if anything could potentially bring back a 2D renaissance, is SpongeBob. And I feel like in the second movie, I would have been perfectly fine and happy if the whole movie was just 2D animation. But I feel like at least in that movie, they justified it decently. They blended SpongeBob in with the real world, and that was a decent reason to make him CG. Not good enough to make it the front of the box, because that wasn't the focus of the movie by any stretch of the imagination. That was a chunk of the last third of the movie. Over half of it is 2D. But like, I feel like that's this doing it all CG. There can't be a justification. I don't think there's no in-story reason.
I think cheap. It's just cheaper. That's the main thing.
It's cheap and it's safe.
If anyone asks them, it's like, well, why do it like this? They're gonna come up with so many excuses, but bottom line is just it's going to be cheaper to make. That's the whole thing, which it doesn't make sense to me. That's like I haven't watched Nickelodeon in a while, but aside from SpongeBob and Loud House, do they really have a lot going for them currently? Because I know most of their other shows, they kind of did what Disney did and jumped on the sitcom-esque style of shows,
Well,
like Henry Danger and stuff like that.
yeah, Henry Danger is very popular.
Game Shakers.
Game Shakers is ending soon. It's
Good.
pretty popular. Not as popular as Henry Danger. Like they have other stuff going on, but nothing even close to the extent of SpongeBob or Loud House, aside from I think Henry Danger. But you know, I mean, SpongeBob is a big moneymaker, and I almost wish that like if they were gonna do it like this, they just make it direct to DVD or something. At least just say like, listen, this is just like whatever. Like we'll give you a nice theatrical movie later, maybe. Instead of, because I mean the fact that it was announced right after the second, I mean it's like I don't know, it's just sad, I think. And then in terms of like plot elements, I don't understand why they would, like, okay, an origin story, like in theory that sounds good, because it's like there are a lot of things about SpongeBob that we just don't know, like what his life was like before he moved to Bikini Bottom. We basically don't know at all. We've seen flashbacks where he's been like in school with Patrick or them as babies. We know he knows of the Krusty Krab. He ate there as a fetus, apparently, in a scene that I will never forget.
I forgot about that.
That will never be burned. That will never be erased from my memory. It's there forever.
He's just
the
like,
nightmares.
"Oh."
Yep.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Square pregnancy.
Thank you for that
am I
image.
right? You're welcome.
Thank you for that image in my skull. That's.
Aren't you folks at home glad we're an audio-only podcast? No, but like we've seen bits and pieces, but there is no like concrete, like here's an episode of SpongeBob before the Krusty Krab or whatever. Like, so that's an interesting idea, but you need to pull that off really well, and they don't have anyone from the show outside of like one guy who produced on the show in like season 1 or like something. Not Hillenberg, but like one guy who's vaguely attached. Because you know why? Because they want to keep the show going. Because apparently the second movie. Well, I don't say apparently. This is just true. The second movie was such a big bomb to the production that like it literally caused season 9 to take like 4 years to air.
Jeez.
Yeah, they had to pause production for so long, but you got to crank those episodes. You can't just have another short season like they did with 10. No. You got to keep cranking them out, get them out. So I also find that to be a decision that is, again, money grubbing. Like I understand not wanting the show to halt production, but you could just shorten production. You could just take a few writers. You could, there's lots of things they could do, but to have basically unknown people come in and make a movie that's an origin story for SpongeBob doesn't quite feel right. And I'm sure Hillenberg has some final say over a lot of it, but like it still doesn't feel right to me, especially in CG form.
Yeah, they do have, well, the director Tim Hill apparently is credited as a developer on the show, meaning like I guess he didn't help create
he
it,
seemed
but
to be like an executive that maybe approved some of the decisions.
Yeah, maybe came up with a few creative elements, and he also is, I believe, credited as a writer on like 6 of the episodes throughout, however many there is. But, obviously he's a profiled animated film director. He's directed like Hop, Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties, the original Alvin and the Chipmunks movie, also Muppets in Space.
All amazing
Muppets in Space
movies.
is good. Muppets in
Yeah,
Space.
those are all not good movies.
Didn't he also do Max Keebler's Big Move?
Yes, Max Keeble's Big
He's
Move.
also credited on that Wikipedia page as writing the MacDougal theme song, if you have that still stuck in your head like I do.
Googles is me.
No, stop. Hey, whoa. Whoa, no.
I will admit, I like that movie growing up.
No, it's not a terrible movie, but it's not like
that song's burned in my skull forever. Sorry.
It's not exactly a great hop to the SpongeBob, franchise.
But
and what does this article also say that?
Didn't it say like music wise? I think is Zimmerman. Was that what? It
No,
said?
Hans Zimmer is doing music, and then there's also going to be celebrity. Apparently, they lean towards saying that there was going to be like celebrity songs and whatnot.
Oh, great.
Celebrity songs doesn't sound like the worst idea, but
I mean, Pharrell did a song on the second one, right?
Yeah, the only song in the second one. And the first movie has in the credits.
The second movie had Epic Rap Battles of History in it for that rap and a couple.
Nope.
parts.
Sorry, the movie ends before then. That doesn't. That's.
Well, it has Epic Lloyd and Nice Peter make a cameo.
I know.
So it
I know.
counts.
I'm making a joke because that ending is awful.
I was so sad because I heard that they were going to be in it, and then I saw it, and I was like, why? Why
They
did they do this?
they cut the Slash cameo, but they kept these two. I don't
It's
have anything against epic rap battles. It's just like that epic rap battle in the end of the movie is like one of the worst things in cinema history.
Well, plus after that, they stopped making YouTube video. They did like 2 more videos after that came out, and then people started like they, from what I've heard, they weren't sure if they were going to do a season 6 or not, and then they started getting feedback on that, and we haven't seen a season 6 in like 2 years. So
I honestly actually believe that. To be honest with you, that makes sense to
sad.
me.
Yeah.
I mean that's unfortunate, but yeah. Okay, so like origin story sounds like a cool idea, but it doesn't feel right without like a chunk of the main team. And also, it sounds like a difficult concept to pull off for something like SpongeBob. Doesn't sound like something that should be done in CG. And then I'm kind of confused as to why like also like summer camp and then also It's a Wonderful Life in there somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I get the connection between It's a Wonderful Life and an origin story because Wonderful Life is basically origin if you don't exist. And that's also not like the worst concept for SpongeBob, seeing how SpongeBob affects everything. Granted, I mean that's whatever happened to SpongeBob has that. What Bikini Bottom's like without SpongeBob. It's not new territory for the show, but I mean it kind of makes sense. It feels like a lot of different things are being thrown at the wall with this movie, which is kind of like the biggest problem with the second movie. Like one of the biggest problems is that despite its good ideas and places, it is basically a random events plot with a lot of bizarre sequences that don't fit at all. But yeah, no, honestly, nothing about this announcement got me excited or made me feel like, yeah, I can't wait for this. It's all just kind of bad news, to be honest.
I'm still left wondering why we need an origin story. Like, I think Help Wanted is enough, and I don't. Why is it that? And this doesn't only pertain to SpongeBob, but just so many media franchises feel the need to fill in the dots and fill in the blanks between so many different things. But like, I feel like some level of mystique is like good.
You make a very
Why
good
do they
point.
just feel they need to explain everything? But I don't want everything explained. I kind of want to be able to fill in the blanks.
Yeah, it's just a yellow sponge man that's funny.
I don't care what
Just
happens to
leave it at
SpongeBob
that.
before Help Wanted. I just,
I mean, to be fair, we have had like we've had episodes like Pull Up a Barrel, which goes into Krabs' backstory. We've had
I liked that one. That one actually. You're talking about the one where it's like him and Plankton were friends.
Nope, that's Friend or Foe. That's another one that goes into his backstory. That one actually goes pretty deep into his childhood anyway. Pull Up a Barrel is his Navy days.
Okay. Sorry.
There's also you're fine. There's also episodes that talk about his pirate days too. I'm always amused at the fact that he was both a pirate and in the Navy at 2 different points in his life, or maybe the same time? Question mark.
That's when you make the conspiracy theory. He was a pirate and then was impersonating a Navy member, and then just kind of got swept up in that whole thing. I didn't watch the episode. I'm just making a joke.
Pull Up a Barrel kind of hints as to what his origins as a pirate might be. But anyway, like we've had the original Fry Cook, which is it's not an origin story for the Krusty Krab, but it kind of shows what the Krusty Krab was like before SpongeBob. So I mean, we've had bits and pieces. It's not like this is. I think what's unknown is like really what SpongeBob's situation was like before Bikini Bottom and how he met Patrick. But however he meets Patrick completely is going to contradict something, which is not the hugest idea, or it's not the hugest problem, but it's still just kind of like, yeah, I don't know. This all just none of it's good news, honestly. And regardless of like how you want to clarify whatever this person said about 2D animation, it's still a very sad comment about the industry and about playing it safe, even with a franchise that's pretty much guaranteed to make a ton of money at the box office. No matter what they do, they still want to play it safe as humanly possible.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so yeah, there's that. I don't know. Maybe either on the recast or in videos separate. Definitely, I'll be kind of following the production of this, like I did with Sponge Out of Water, because I kind of at this point, I kind of just want some good news about this. Like I don't know, like The other thing, before we move on, actually, the camp thing kind of confused me. Not because like camp doesn't belong in SpongeBob. Like they've had the Inmates of Summer, they've had the camping episode, they've had To Save a Squirrel, Chili Con Castaways. Like they've had like a decent amount of those episodes, but like, why would any other character aside from SpongeBob and Patrick be there if it's an origin story, or is that part not the origin story? Like, why would Squidward be at a camp?
Yeah.
Why would Mr. Krabs like a counselor? Like,
Isn't it implied that Squidward doesn't even meet SpongeBob until he like first? No, because he doesn't.
No, he knows him as a neighbor,
Okay.
as of help wanted. Now, as of the first day he moves there, it's left unclear, to be honest with you. There might be some small gag somewhere that states that SpongeBob knew Squidward like back in. I mean, Squidward went to college.
Squidward's like a little bit older than him, right?
I don't know. I mean, it's not.
It's
none
kind of
that's-
implied because he worked at the Krusty Krab when that original fry cook was there.
That's true, but Agent SpongeBob.
He also did have hair.
Right. Agent SpongeBob is the thing that you never want to think about because it's a rabbit hole. According to people who, for some reason, people believe the driver's license in, I think Sleepy Time, or it might be a different episode. But like for some reason, people really, really like going by that theory, and by that, SpongeBob is like 35 now or something. But that's taking one bit of evidence and only looking at that and ignoring any other signs of like literally everything else. It's just kind of one of those BuzzFeed article things like, did you know that SpongeBob is actually 86 now? Like, it's like, okay, well.
It could be, and he just acts like a child.
I mean, the average lifespan of a sponge, what is that? Probably really long. All right, we're getting off topic. All right. But yeah, we'll definitely be talking more about the SpongeBob movie. It's a wonderful sponge as news develops. We skipped the questions this week, so we're going to just announce next week and the week after episodes. So next week, we have Shadow Streak. That rhymed. And he is going to be talking about the episodes from the original Powerpuff Girls, Roughing It Up, and from the reboot, Clawdad. They're both episodes where the girls and the professor go on camping trips, and there's some fatherly bonding, apparently. I don't really remember Roughing It Up, to be honest with you. And I haven't seen...
It's got Fuzzy Lumpkins.
Oh. And I haven't seen Clawdad, but I have seen a review by a really cool guy named Shadow Streak, who's on the podcast next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so it should be an interesting comparison. Should be fun. Always great to have Shadow back on the podcast. And then the week after that, so remember how last week I said we wanted to do something with Tiny Toons and Animaniacs? Well, we're going to do that. Kind of, sort of. We're going to do the Tiny Toons episode, A Quack in the Quarks. It's the second episode, and we're going to do not Animaniacs, but the Pinky and the Brain episode, Star Warners, which features the cast of Animaniacs. So it's a Pinky and the Brain episode in technicality only, but it's if you can't tell, they're both Star Wars parodies. There's definitely other episodes we could have compared, like we could have done kind of the origin stories for the Tiny Toons and the Animaniacs, but I don't know. I haven't seen Tiny Toons in a while, so I kind of want to play it safe on this one. I'm pretty sure this should be an interesting comparison. I mean, we could do like we could have probably done a whole month of just Star Wars parody comparisons.
Yeah.
We could do a whole
like Robot Chicken.
We could do a whole podcast.
Yeah.
Like an entire new podcast that's just like Star recast.
Yeah. I mean, they have some prominent Star Wars parodies in the shows that in one of the shows that we're comparing today.
Right. I think actually in both, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah, technically.
Yeah. All right, guys. So now we are on to our episode comparisons here. We have the Fairly OddParents episode, Scary Godparents, and the Danny Phantom episode, Fright Night. They're both puns.
Yeah.
So first we're going to talk about the Fairly OddParents episode, then we'll talk about the Danny Phantom episode, and then lastly we can compare them. Interesting of note, obviously both these shows have the same creator, whom we won't be talking about, but both of these episodes were written by Steve Marmel. Marmel was the co-creator of Danny Phantom and worked pretty heavily on, or at least in part, on early Fairly OddParents, and he co-wrote the Danny Phantom episode, which is funny because he co-created that show. But he fully wrote for Scary Godparents, so he's a writer on both of these. So this should be a really interesting comparison, and I think there's a lot of parallels. So, Monsters, do you want to give us a rundown of what happens in Scary Godparents?
Sure. So, so the episode starts off with Timmy, and he's watching, what's his name? Crash Nebula?
Yep.
Yes.
Crash Nebula.
The spin-off we never got.
And there's these cool costumes called the Jackobots. Well, they're not costumes, but they're like the villains in the show. And Timmy's wondering if he can have the costume of that, but it turns out the rich kids in the show, like Trixie Tang and her friends, end up by having the only 4 made. Timmy's pretty bummed, and he goes trick-or-treating with Wanda and Cosmo and AJ and Chester. And he feels like Halloween isn't scary enough. So basically he wishes that Halloween gets real and scary. So so he basically turns into a mummy, and he discovers that it's not as good as he thought it would be.
Mm-hmm. Also, meanwhile, Mark Chang and the Yucatecans attack.
Yeah.
So Timmy must figure out a way to basically save the world from the Jackobots becoming this self-destruct sequence while being a decaying mummy.
The Pumpkination destruction.
Okay. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen The Fairly Odd Parents, but this is a really good episode.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
It holds up very well, in my opinion.
It's worth noting that this is the season 2 finale, and it very much feels like it. Like, it feels like a season finale because you got Dr. Bender in there. You don't have Remy Bucks aplenty, but his dad appears. You have Mark Chang. You have you have the rich kids, Crash Nebula, Crimson Chin makes a cameo as a mask. Like, there's just kind of a lot of elements from the show that kind of get pulled together here. It felt like a season finale. That's why I actually looked it up. I'm like, is this? And it was. Did you guys notice anything about Chester McBadbat?
Not.
He's still voiced by Frankie Muniz at this point.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even know that. That's.
Yep.
You just kind of blew my mind a little bit. Like, oh, that's trippy to me.
Mm-hmm.
I can't unhear it now.
And Dr. Bender is obviously Gilbert Gottfried.
Yes,
That's not a secret though.
Dude, I completely forgot he had a son, and then I watched the episode a little while ago, and he's just, "You're the reason I don't have any friends," and I was like, "Oh my god, this is great."
Oh, the comedy in this episode is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. It works.
Yeah.
It works really well. It was really funny.
Oh my god, like the line. So, for some reason, Timmy's parents are dressed up as each other for Halloween, but the lines are exactly, "I'm going as your mom. I'm going as your dad," and then Timmy says, "I'm going to need therapy," which is a really funny punchline. Like.
Dude, I forgot that because whenever I watched it, because I was watching online, it was buffering, so I jumped a little bit into the episode, and it started where the parents were answering the door and giving out stuff, and their voices were switched, and I was like, wait a minute, I don't remember why that is a thing. Let me try to reload it. So I was like really thrown off for a minute. I was like, oh. Hey.
Speaking of that scene, I love the jokes where they give the rich kids like Timmy's college fund.
Here's his comic books, his video games, and all the money we were saving for. His parents are awful.
I know. I love how
they give
exaggerated Fairly Odd Parents is.
Same thing with when they were waiting at the rich people's door, and all the rich kids got a bunch of money and stuff, and they end up by getting the pit bull.
Yeah. I like how he's like, Rottweilers, this pit bull. I think I'm feeling pit bulls tonight. I thought that was a really funny bit.
I also love how that character's design literally just has money sticking out of him. Like,
yeah,
like he's just rich people just have wads of money rolled up in like various pockets and sleeves.
You could be rich too if you just follow him around for like a day and a half.
Exactly. But and speaking of that scene, I love the principal gives them reflective tape, which is a funny joke. That's a funny joke on its own. But then when it comes back and they're like, hide, and then the spotlight
is this safe
shines.
At all?
Yeah, it's a good setup and payoff. Like, so this was before the Fairly Odd Parents became really disgusting with its like running gags and like like every joke has to be Cosmo is stupid and then like Wanda is a nag and then this one joke in the episode and you got to keep playing that joke, got to keep doing it again, no matter how unfunny it is. This the 18th time you've done it in 11 minutes, do it again.
And then Timmy just kind of like does that. I'm done with this crap.
What
every
what
time
could
the joke
possibly go
happens.
wrong? Yeah,
No,
yeah,
Timmy,
basically.
you're not supposed to say that. You know that from every episode of your show. And you said it 8 times this episode alone. So please just stop.
Yeah, and this is before Cosmo got obnoxious. He's not. I mean, he's stupid, but he's not obnoxious.
Yeah, he was
I
actually.
missed that.
I actually really liked him in this episode. Just like the whole thing of the stop right there. I have to inspect your ship. But first, I'm gonna take my break. He takes a nap.
And then it's like he gets upgraded from just creepy janitor to creepy custodian or supervisor.
Look at all my keys.
Yeah, see, that's a good example of a stupid character that doesn't overstay his welcome. He doesn't interfere with the plot, and he's actually helpful.
And it's not just like completely random crap shoved in there either. Like it makes sense with the situation. He's being dumb with the stuff that they've given him instead of just randomly like pulling out a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and making a joke about that.
Mm-hmm. Also, I have to.
God, they've done that so many times.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I have to say, did you guys catch the dirty joke at the end?
I'm trying to remember.
No.
I'm trying so hard to remember now. I
don't remember if I caught it when I reviewed this about like 4 or 5 years ago. But I caught it now. The P bomb. That in and of itself is not anything. But when it comes down, Timmy or Wanda is like, the P is for pinata, and then Cosmo says, "Well, there goes my worst case scenario."
I thought that was just implying he thought it was poop.
Well, I mean, possibly. There's a lot of P words that it could have been. Either way, it's like a toilet humor hidden innuendo thing.
By the way, once the P bomb did drop, was it just me or did they have like a similar rendition of the Willy Wonka song?
Yes, yes.
That's
like,
what I thought
come
too.
With me and you'll see. Yeah.
It's not even Candyman though. Usually they'll shows will parody Candyman. Well, that's that Guy Moon scoring. Did you guys see that Guy Moon cameo in this episode?
No, where? What? Where was he?
It's just a joke because there's a moon. They focus on the moon.
He's right before the song. Whenever the bat flies across the moon.
I'll be here all week.
I did like this episode, but I do have a few problems.
Ooh, interesting. Go for it.
So the first thing is, why doesn't Wanda just turn him into a Jacobot? Why does it matter if there was only 4 of them made?
Because, okay, here's the thing.
I actually think I have an answer to that.
Go
because in DA rules, it says that you can't use the magic to win competitions, and those costumes were made and won in a specific competition, so he couldn't have them because they were the prize of it.
But that would imply winning, like using that to enter a competition, right? Not the result of a competition.
It still affects the competition.
Yeah, because
and it also raises suspicion.
Yeah, because there's been things before where it's like, oh well, Timmy, you can't use it to win the competition. Okay, then just give me the prize, and they can't because that same rule.
I see that.
Plus, I think they said the Jacobots were made specifically for the prize of the competition, and that's why there was only 4.
Yeah,
I can see that.
I mean, it's smarter if Timmy just said make a Jacobot costume or something,
right? Or just any costume, really. But he gets pushed along by the plot, so he doesn't really have a chance to really wish up a good costume.
Right.
No, I mean, as far as with every Fairly Odd Parents episode, has to be a reason, arbitrary rule as to why Timmy can't wish for something he wants. That's not every episode, but that's a lot of episodes. And then not arbitrary, but reason why Timmy can't unwish the wish. And as far as reason given for that, I think this episode did it perfectly. I think it makes total sense. They turned into what they were, and so they weren't fairies anymore.
That's true.
Okay. So the comedy in this, I was still pleasantly surprised because I honestly didn't know how well the comedy in the Fairly Odd Parents would hold up. I haven't seen it in ages. The only things I've seen in ages are the really obnoxious later seasons.
No, I saw a clip 2 days ago of Chloe, and I don't like it now. Ugh, God,
Yeah.
no, never mind. I'm gonna forget that I said that. Go ahead. Go ahead, please.
But yeah, so like I was pleasantly surprised at that. But what I was shocked at, just utterly floored, is how good this story is. Like I love this story. Everything, the fact that like, yes, monsters, yes.
This might be a bit of a controversial opinion. I feel like the Yugopotamians were pointless. I feel like they were shoehorned in. I feel like if you took them out, then the story wouldn't be any better or any worse.
I can kind of agree with that. That it does, like, it feels like it wouldn't have made a big difference if they were there or not. I just like having them in it though. I thought was kind of like how Pi, you were saying earlier that it was like a good tie-in type thing for a season finale to kind of have bits and pieces of the different stuff there. Plus, I'm gonna be honest, Mark Chang is like one of my favorite characters from that show, so I'm happy he was in it.
Yeah, so I agree, monsters, in the sense that the Yugopotamian plot is not necessary. It's not strictly attached to basically anything, and you could take it out. However, I disagree that it doesn't add anything because I think it adds complication to Timmy's to what's going on. It compounds issues, and also I do think that they're funny.
Ja?
Yeah. Vicky, my beloved.
Dude, I love that character so much. He's just so funny to me. It's I'm trying to remember the voice actor's name. Ron Paulson? The guy that did Yakko for Animaniacs and Carl.
Is that
for...
him? No.
Yeah, that's him.
Dude, that guy is so cool.
He's hilarious. I watched an episode of Talking Tunes that he hosts, and he talks about how he came up with that voice, and he's just one of my favorite characters, especially like even after he's explained how he came up with the voice for it and everything. And he's just a cool dude.
Did you guys catch the Yugopotamian with like the peace symbol as his like antenna thing? Is that like the equivalent of like a middle finger or something? Like
it seems as though
it's like his edgy teenage face.
For Yugopotamians,
yes.
They just dress up like hippies.
yes,
it's
that
not
makes
a phase, Mom.
Peace and love. Oh, don't you say that again! Not in this household.
It's like he's dead to us. Go on the thaw of the clone.
That was a great joke too. I'm gonna mourn you for 9,000 Yugopotamian days. Okay, mourning over. Beat. Unfreeze the clone.
I love the Yugopotamians. They're always really funny to me.
But yeah, no, I like story-wise, I love. Okay, so Timmy's wish. First, I mean the song. We can get to the song, but like Timmy's wish makes sense. It's not an overly stupid wish. I mean, it's a little dangerous, sure, but it's not. He's made so many dumber ideas. Like, it makes sense for him. The way it backfires is a pretty funny and interesting. Like, I feel like that's well justified as well. He's a mummy. What does he expect? Like, if he wants to be a real and scary mummy, he's gonna be literally decaying.
I think it's funny comparing it to because in the song it shows him dressed up. It shows like the monster mummy that he thinks he's gonna be,
right?
And then he jumps out of the chest out of it. I'm just like, yeah, no, you don't get to be that. You get to be just little. You get to be the little mummy bad guy from the first Tag in the Power of Juju game. It's funny.
I love how Timmy is falling apart, and then Wanda has to like sweep him along. I love the idea that Timmy jumps into a box of miscellaneous Halloween like that's cool. The fact that the Jackobots were set up at the beginning of the episode and then they come back and then that's a real threat and it's understandable as why that's a threat and why that's a thing. And then the other ending bit that was really clever is summoning the Tooth Fairy. Like that's really clever writing. Good foreshadowing.
I honestly didn't even see that coming at first. Because I didn't remember much of the special from before I rewatched it, except for the song, because it's one of my favorite songs for Halloween. But I completely forgot about the fact that they like summon Dr. Bender's son as the Tooth Fairy from that, and I was like, that's really good. They foreshadowed it slightly, and it's just a good callback, and I thought it was really clever.
Works well within the rules that the show established. Like at first, because I saw it a few years ago, and I remembered something happens with that. At first, I thought like Wanda dresses up as a fairy, like a tooth fairy, but with a pillow and a tooth. But I'm like, that's stupid. Like that's
It
not a
would turn
costume.
into a tooth fairy.
Like standing on a tooth is not. That's not, like that's not a costume though. You know, but like yeah, no, that made total sense to me. And yeah, the Yugopotamians, although they are not strictly necessary, I think that they complicate things and they don't actively take away from anything. They add
That's true.
They add a lot, like they add another conflict in there, and although the resolution ultimately a lot of it doesn't exactly tie back to what Timmy was doing, it's still kind of like it gives them a happy ending because of the P bomb. It creates this other threat of the Yugopotamians attacking and then also them taking Vicky. It also gives Vicky something to do so that, like, because what would Vicky be? You know, I don't know. Like,
She's just over there being icky. That's the whole
Taking
point
that
of her.
70-30 cut.
well, hey, wait, can we talk about that? Listen, most bullies will just take your candy. Vicky was willing to give them a 30% split. That, as far as bullies go, that's a pretty good deal.
Well, you need to
Yeah.
remember she's also being paid to do this, so that's probably the only reason that she's reimbursing them in any way.
Oh,
Is
that's a
she's
good
like,
point.
you know what? I am getting paid like probably $200 to $300 because his parents are dumb. And I'm taking all their candy anyway. I might as well give a little something back.
I probably more so that if not Timmy's parents, but if other parents saw their kids return with no candy, maybe they'd notice. Definitely not Timmy's parents.
That's a good point.
Um,
Actually, that could be a good cover. Is that they come back with some candy, so they can't be like, Vicky took my candy. Well, you have some right there, so
right, exactly.
you're obviously lying.
She also does the great cartoon thing of just throwing a bunch of candy in your mouth without unwrapping it at all.
That's the best part. Is the candy wrappers. It's the tastiest part.
I did think the ending was very clever though, with all the kids lined up at the dentist.
That was kind of funny. Have some more sugar-covered, sugar-flavored, sugar ball things. I don't remember what he says exactly. I know he says sugar like 6 times, and I just love it. It's really funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's the scariest thing.
So I guess the last thing is the song, right?
Or can I say one thing before the song? Because I know I'm gonna get
Go
into
for it.
I love the fact that when the Pumpkinator bomb was like ticking down, like it has all 4 of the kids' voices, but it is their voice, like the
Like
39, 38, 37, 36. I was like, I started dying when I heard that. I was like, oh my god, I never realized they still talk like this, and it's really funny.
Mm-hmm. It's also, I mean, it doesn't actually really do anything story-wise, but it is kind of nice that, like, a nice touch that the fairies can kind of go unnoticed at Halloween. Like, they can just be Timmy's friends. Like, they don't have to hide.
I did think that was kind of cool, too.
Yeah, it's just a clever little thing. But yeah, the song. I mean, the Fairly OddParents has pumped out a lot of really great songs.
Mhm.
Is it controversial if I say that this is the best one?
Not at all. I don't think so. This is my favorite.
Yeah.
It's a good song.
The chorus of Real and Scary is just always like the building. Yeah, so good.
Also, I like the fact that because they word it as real and scary, and with the wishes they can be very specific.
Mm-hmm.
It's Cosmo and Wanda are supposed to be a human nurse and a human janitor,
Right.
but they turn into like monster versions because it is real, but it's also scary. And then you see like the monster boil version of Crash Nebula and the monster versions of Crimson Chin and stuff like that. I thought that was really clever, is that they do make him real, but they make him just a little scary.
Yeah, great touch.
I will say that when Cosmo became the janitor, I thought they were referencing the fact that Cosmo's voice actor, Darren Norris, was the janitor on Ned's Declassified. But I later discovered that this episode was released, I believe, in 2001, and Ned's Declassified didn't come out until 2004. So
It's just foreshadowing. That's all it was.
And speaking of 2004, Danny Phantom.
yeah.
Young Danny Phantom. So
14, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so this episode is Danny accidentally gets in a fight with Dash, and Lancer sees them and makes them both work on his haunted Halloween house that he's competing with the gym teacher to make a scarier one. Danny decides to use some Ghost Zone things like a sword to make it scary, make it real and scary. See the tie-in, guys? They're surprisingly similar episodes.
Wait, are you talking like a vampire's fangs in the night,
like a
or
ghost.
like a witch on a broom taking flight?
There wasn't enough ghosts in the first episode, I think. But no, so he makes it real and scary, but then the Fright Night, like the spirit of Halloween, comes out of the ghost zone to the real world to take his sword back and cause generic flavored mayhem and destruction. And then Danny stops him.
Yeah.
Wasn't a fan of this episode.
I'm be honest, I was not that much either. To me, it just didn't have that much of a Halloween feel to it, in all honesty.
Yeah. No, it's like, I don't think it's a bad episode personally.
No, it's a good episode. It's just
I don't think it's a good episode either. I think it's an okay episode. It's worse than a lot of other Danny Phantom season 1 episodes, and it does not in any way do justice to a ghost show making a Halloween episode. Like,
Yep.
how can you come up with such a generic, boring villain and such a generic plot and such a stupid, like, I mean, I think we have a viewer comment that kind of sums this up pretty well. From Goken, Fright Night honestly does nothing too special to make it feel like it can be a special episode of Danny Phantom. The show already has the autumn color scheme and supernatural elements. I felt a Halloween episode was redundant. Even the ending was kind of abrupt, not too memorable. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's redundant. Like, I think it's good to have a Halloween episode, but when an average episode of Danny Phantom feels more like a Halloween episode than the Halloween episode, I think you done goofed.
yeah. Like, I don't know. I will agree with the fact that Fright Night was just kind of boring. Like, okay, I did not even remember the fact that they had a Halloween special for this show. From what I remembered, Fright Night showed up whenever the Ghost King was there, and I forgot that he was introduced before the Ghost King storyline. And like that just kind of shows that he's not that great of a character. Like, you have a show that produces amazing satirical ghost characters that can be funny and cool, like
The Box
Technus
Ghost, Technus,
exactly.
Skulker,
Exactly.
Ember,
Black's Ghost.
Johnny 13, freaking Kitty or whatever her name was.
yeah.
And you have all these different characters that are funny, they're witty. You'd think the one that's supposed to be the spirit of Halloween, the spirit of like mischief and scaring stuff, honestly, I thought it was going to be more like a Jack-o'-lantern from the Billy and Mandy Halloween special type character.
Right, he's not even based on anything. Like, he's not based on a classic Halloween villain or something. Like, I don't know, make him a vampire. Well, I guess that's kind of already Vlad's aesthetic.
I thought he was supposed to be based on the Headless Horseman at first.
Yeah, me too.
But then his weakness is pumpkins, and I'm just like, I don't know. He could be based on Headless Horseman if his weakness is pumpkins or something. I don't know.
But his head is on, or his there's no indication that his head is off.
I don't think he has a head.
So
if you notice, whenever he's defeated, his helmet crumbles away and there's nothing underneath it, but his body still just kind of floats up in there.
Yeah. So if that was the inspiration, then they
It wasn't clear.
do a great job. Yeah. Goken also said, and this is something I agree with very much. Let's see. Fright Night isn't a bad episode, but when your other holiday special, The Fright Before Christmas, is infinitely many times better, it makes The Fright Night just another episode of Danny Phantom. Okay, personally, if you've watched my channel for a long time, you know the Danny Phantom Christmas special is my favorite episode of the series, and literally of all Nicktoon Christmas specials, my favorite. Like, literally, I think I love Will Arnett. I love the Ghost Rider. Such a clever villain. The rhyming, I mean, it's, a lot of shows have done that, but it's very, very well handled there. Good story, just good everything. Such the element of Christmas. And they did that so well. And then you have this, like, if you want a good Halloween episode of Danny Phantom to watch, I suggest the one at the hospital. With the psychiatric ghost.
With the bugs and Spectre.
Right. I forget, what was that called? Like, I want to say Nightmare Hospital, but that's Steven Universe. But like, yeah.
I think it was. I may be completely wrong, but I thought it was they just used fear, but as an acronym and spaced it and made like separated ER in capital.
Doctor's Disorders is the name of the episode.
Okay, I was completely wrong, but that was a good one. That I agree that would be more of a Halloween feel to it. I mean,
very creepy episode.
Even the I don't remember the name of the episode at all, and I know he's like a one-off villain, but that Nightwalker guy, the one that looks like space with a mask. I'm
drawing a blank on him. Even like the Circus Gothica episode, like the first season finale.
Danny.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of spooky. I mean, the whole series is like that. Like, if you can't do a Halloween episode, I mean, I don't know. I love Danny Phantom. I think it's a really good series, but it is kind of amazing that this is just so lackluster. And then also, like, Danny is so stupid and annoying in this episode. Like,
yeah, they dumbed him up a lot in this episode. Like, whenever he said, "Wait a minute, the room doesn't even have a pumpkin," my first thought was, yeah, that's really stupid. This is a Halloween episode. There's not even a pumpkin.
At least he calls himself stupid for that one. But, like, okay, stealing the sword of the Halloween ghost to use in your display, like a real dangerous sword, stupid. Continuing after stuff starts going down, continuing to be like, well, I'm gonna win the Halloween room, and the answer's probably safe. Like, that's immensely stupid.
He's just
that's
trapped
beyond
in a dimension of his greatest fears. I mean, come on.
Like, Danny,
it's not that bad.
There's no indication you're gonna be able to save him. He could just be dead forever. Like, you don't know this is a cartoon. You could be completely screwed here. But no, keep quipping about like, oh, I'm gonna win the competition. It's like, oh.
Honestly, hearing the plot of it without remembering anything of the episode, how Danny acts on a regular basis in other episodes, I thought maybe he would have like went there and tried to ask for help from the guy. And then it like makes him mad, and then he's like, "I'm the spirit of Halloween. I'll show them true fear," or something like that.
Right, or like he goes and like he accidentally steals the sword somehow, like it phases into him or whatever. And he's like, well, I have it, I might as well use it. Like, that's a justification that works. Like, Timmy's wish is a justification that works because he doesn't have any idea that it's going to backfire in this way. But this plot point, which is very similar to Timmy's wish, feels like 14-year-old Danny should know better to such an immense degree that he looks like a complete idiot. And the fact that he keeps kind of bragging about it instead of fixing his mess sooner is just really out of character for him.
Plus, I would like to point something out with whenever he stole the sword, not even 2 minutes beforehand, he was saying how he's kind of invincible in the ghost zone because he can be human and not get hurt. Immediately, as soon as he's about to be attacked by skeletons, he turns back into a ghost.
Yeah, so that's something that's always been weird. Like, that's a rule in the ghost zone that, like, humans are the ghosts. Like, that made a great tagline for that one. But, like, they've never really established, like...
Well, they show it in the episode where he finds that out, the prison one with the warden, that ghosts can't touch him. Like, the warden's trying to grab him and hurt him. But it's just phasing right through. So why would you turn ghost?
I guess the skeletons aren't ghosts. They're just skeletons. I don't know. I mean, you make a great point.
It's the only real world matter in that castle that can be possessed, I guess.
I mean, I think that
could be a point.
What saves the episode for me, why I don't think it's like an awful episode is it's still funny, to be honest with you.
I liked all the random monsters that were being made from random things, like the stop sign turning into like a squid lady. I thought that was great.
I like such a great, like, on the nose, like, perfect joke at the beginning. Give me one reason not to suspend you. And Dash says,
I'm a football
player. Yeah, like
he's like, that's true, but I have to act like I'm fair. So.
I know, it's like, oof, too real, man.
Which, by the way, it seems like any altercation that Dash has with Danny is always a misunderstanding that Danny's not even aware of until he starts yelling at him.
Basically.
Like,
I also...
I didn't mean to knock into you. I'm sorry about that. No, Fenton, you're going down. Oh, okay. Sorry?
I also really like the... I don't know. Tucker has a great self-aware line. I don't know what's scarier, the underwear or the fact that he carries them around in his jacket. Because it's like for the setup to work, you have to show the gross underwear. You can't just be like, I mean, you can just say it, but it's not as interesting if he doesn't have it conveniently with him. But then it raises the question, like, why is he carrying, like,
Does he have
it? It's not like he took them off himself. He just literally has it in his jacket. Like, hey kids, want to buy some dirty well, I retract that joke. That's too far.
That's
for
an
the
American
recast.
Dad joke. Let's not bring that up.
Monsters, you've been quiet.
Yeah, no, like I said, I wasn't really a big fan of this episode. I thought a lot of the humor was hit or miss. I thought the villain wasn't that interesting, and I also wasn't really compelled by the story.
Honestly, it just feels like not a whole lot of effort was put into this one. Like, my biggest example as to why is every time you see the jack-o'-lantern that he stabs at the ending, like the melted bucket that Tucker has, every time you see it, there's a different face on it.
Really?
I rewatched the episode 3 times to be sure.
Wow.
But there is a different face on it every time it shows up.
Another thing too is that it takes place a lot in that haunted house room. Like, there's not a lot of locations.
The very lame one. Yeah, he just stabs the sword in the floor. He's like, "Okay, it's scary now."
Yeah,
like, it's not.
No. And then also like things like, I mean, there's a funny joke about Dash having good audio-visual skills or like mechanical skills or whatever. But even still, it's like that doesn't seem
a cool character trait later down the line in the show.
That's not realistic. Like, I mean, if it showed him like bullying some nerds into putting this together for him, honestly, like I'd buy that. But it just kind of seemed like, well, that his thing just has to arbitrarily be better than Danny's for this storyline to work. Which also, like, I wasn't really compelled by the story of him versus Dash on this. Like, were you guys? Like, because Fright Night himself is not really interesting, but like the personal conflict just seemed like, well, Danny accidentally stumbles into the situation, and then he wants to he doesn't mean to start a fight, but then once
he's like full on into it,
right? Then he wants to stick it to him, and then to the point where he's willing to endanger everyone just because the other guy can arbitrarily make all these really fancy like Disney World roller coaster rides indoors.
That he didn't even know about at first, though.
Yeah, that's true.
He was surprised.
And I mean, like, really, all Danny had to do was first of all, like, the whole premise is like the idea that Danny's friends aren't afraid of like the supernatural stuff. It's like, well, duh, they've been around you all this time. Like, you'd scare the heck out of people with your floating bedsheet because people couldn't see the wires. All you gotta do, turn invisible and just float stuff around, like literally, and people would be impressed. Maybe not your parents, maybe not your friends, but literally anyone else in this stupid town. Right? Like, I don't know.
Honestly, I think it would have made a more interesting episode if it were more like, oh, I need to make a scary room type thing. Let me go confront these dudes that always want to kill me and see if they'll help me with it type of situation.
I mean,
or something like that.
There's enough episodes in this show where he teams up with the ghosts, the enemy ghosts. Like, that happens in like 6 episodes.
No, I know. It's just it seems like this would have been a perfect type situation to do that.
How about a ghost that tricks Danny? I mean, I'm sure they've done that at another point in the series, but
a lot.
If Danny went and he went to found the Halloween ghost, and the Halloween ghost pretended to be a really friendly, affable guy, and was like, "Yeah, I'll let me have a little fun on Halloween, and sure, and I'll go right back in the ghost zone afterwards." Like, if he was charismatic, I feel like
I just want to spread some Halloween cheer type of
right. Like, I feel like that would make the character more interesting. That would make the whole thing feel more fun, and it would make Danny look less stupid for all of this.
Yeah, it would have been a much better plot if they did that, I think.
Yeah. I mean, look, the fight scene is pretty decent at the end. It's not anything like phenomenal, but it was still entertaining. I like the greatest fear thing, like Pie attacks Lancer, which I always approve of, obviously. And then Tucker's was funny because it's just technology is there on it with him on an island. Technology disappears. His clothes disappear, which I don't know why that's a fear of his. And then a giant piece of paper notebook, and like, that's just funny.
I'm gonna be honest, I was thrown off whenever they had the notebook paper and the pencil come up. For a split second, I was like, wait, what? Like,
he likes technology. Which, by the way, I gotta throw out a token reference to my boy PDA. That doesn't age the show in any way. Not at all.
Oh no,
I mean,
that was considered advanced technology too.
honestly, if you just replace it with iPhone, really nothing changes. It's just the fact that he calls it a PDA because that term is it just really fell out of fashion.
Yeah, it dated it a little bit.
Because phones basically are that, and like the stuff, like he's doing GPS tracking, like that's what he's doing. He made a Google Map route of trick or treating. Oh, also there's another great line where Danny's parents run into Tucker, and they're like, "Aren't you a little too old to be running around in silly costumes?" While they're dressed like their ridiculous selves.
Hey, also, I was gonna say that's part of what kind of fuels it for me that it didn't totally feel like a Halloween episode.
Mhm.
Was it didn't really seem like Danny, Sam, or even Tucker cared that it was Halloween or were even moderately interested in it. The only one that seemed like it was Tucker, just to scam people out of free candy.
You're right. It is because like
It seems like they just don't care. It's like, yeah, we deal with ghosts and creepy stuff all the time. Why would we care about Halloween?
you think Sam would care.
Yeah,
Like,
especially because she like goes to the bookstore and gets this like super awesome Halloween Tales of the Fright Night and
plot convenient book.
exactly. You've seen her be spooky and supernatural and stuff a lot more in other episodes.
Like, I don't expect her to dress up. I don't expect her to go trick or
Pull out a
treating or go
cauldron and
to
just be
parties.
like, "Come, Danny, I'll make your room scary."
You would think that she'd be watching some like sick horror movies in her giant basement, like her basement theater. That's you'd expect her to be happy about that though. Like that's her whole like macabre thing. But no, and even Tucker, who wants to scam these people, he seems just very apathetic in this episode. That's all the characters.
He just wears Groucho glasses. That was lame. It's like, oh yeah, where's your costume? And he just pulls out Groucho glasses. Like that made me kind of mad.
Yeah.
I was like, really? You're not gonna you're Tucker. You're not gonna put effort into a costume or something. You wore a blue tux to homecoming. I mean, come on. Wear something funny. Dress up as a giant PDA. I mean,
well, you're not even scamming anyone if you just dress up in Halloween. I mean, you might be a little on the older side, but like 14 isn't that old.
Because he's a teenager, I guess.
But that's not. I mean, I trick or treated at 14. Dude, it's free candy. You can get away with it. What?
In some states in the north, if you trick or treat after the age of 13, it's illegal. Like you can go to juvie.
That's
juvie.
What kind of world do we live in? All right, anyway,
I kid you not, that's real. Makes me sad.
What'd you guys think of the underwear bit?
I thought that was I honestly didn't think they were actually gonna go back to it at the very end. But then as soon as I see him going salt, pepper, and I was like, I don't like he can't honestly digest that. He can't even eat that. That doesn't. It would have been funnier to just like cut to him chewing on it or something, and then be like, "This sucks," and then end it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Danny did need some punishment for the episode. It was weird. Also, we don't see him eat it or take a bite or any like. It feels like there's just almost not even a payoff. It's like they wanted to go with this really gross thing, but then kind of chickened out at the very last second. Like
it feels like the ending sound effect before the end title card. It would have been better if that sound effect was like a bite, like
even if we see him bite it off screen, like we see Tucker and Sam's reaction, and then we cut back to him, and he just like looks really sick or like something. Yeah. Like I feel like you didn't even have to show it, but you could do something to kind of give some sort of like payoff, because otherwise. Yeah, this whole episode, it does just feel a little bit like lazy. Like they kind of just didn't care that much. Like maybe Nickelodeon ordered a Halloween episode and they were like, whatever. Like who cares? Because the Fright Night is just generic. Everyone is apathetic about everything. Danny is an idiot. Yeah, only Lancer seems to care.
Lancer's the one that puts in the most work, quoting all those stories and play titles every time he's shocked.
All right, so the comparison. I mean. Like, the episodes are both about characters wanting Halloween to be real and scary. Characters both do something drastic to make it that leads to danger that they have to save in the end. But I would have never guessed in a million years that a Fairly Odd Parents episode would have a better story than a Danny Phantom episode. Like, strictly story, not even like Fairly Odd Parents. I'm sure, in terms of other metrics like comedy or songs or whatever, like, can surpass Danny Phantom. I'm not saying Danny Phantom is just like a better show in like every aspect, but in terms of story, I would have never guessed. I would have never been like, oh yes, the Fairly Odd Parents story has much better foreshadowing, is much more complex and interesting. But it's true, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Plus just overall feel, the Fairly Odd Parents is a Halloween classic to me.
Right,
It
yes.
feels like Halloween. It's kids trick-or-treating and monsters being real. But then the Danny Phantom one is just, oh, I'm gonna steal this guy's sword. I'm in a competition with the bully. Oh, I beat the guy. Yay, now I have to eat underwear. That sucks. But it just, I don't know, it didn't have Halloween feel to me. So just in that sense alone, I think the Fairly Odd Parents one was better.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think, is there anything else to really kind of compare? I mean, like I said, I do really like Timmy's wish, and compared to Danny's plan of stealing the sword, one seems so much more justified and interesting and fun and makes sense, and the other one just seems like a really forced plot point that dumbs down the character and makes him really irresponsible for no reason.
Well, another one that I would say is that in the Fairly Odd Parents one, it really feels like he's working against the clock because the countdown with the Pumpkinator. And
Mm-hmm.
then in the Danny Phantom one, they're like, oh, we have to hurry before the storm spreads and stuff. But then you never see it get any bigger than the premises of the house.
Well, we don't
And
even know. We don't even know what the Fright Night really does
he
in
turns
this
random
episode.
objects into monsters.
Yeah, like, okay.
Once the storm encases the globe, then every change will be permanent. Okay, we've seen like 8 streetlights and a mailbox turn into a random monster. That's it. If it takes more, because it's the whole event of the storm starts at like, I'd say like 7 or 8 p.m. because the sun is setting, and then supposedly ends at midnight because the joke that Danny makes, and then the people showing up a couple minutes later,
Mm-hmm.
is that it's 6 hours and it hasn't gone anywhere past the freaking fences of the property. That's not a threat. It's gonna take like a year at least to get just around I can never remember the town name. I always say Amityville.
Amityville.
There we go. I wanted to say it was Amityville, but then I was thinking of Amityville horror, and I didn't want to be wrong.
Yeah, that's the reference.
Okay, cool. But yeah, like it doesn't seem threatening in any way with Fright Night. Plus,
The funny thing is that Fright Night seems like a character that would be in in Fairly Odd Parents. He seems like Darth Laser of like, I'm an evil ghost and I'm gonna take over the world. Ha 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 ha.
yeah.
Hey, hello,
Here's
Flipsy.
Flipsy.
Yeah, but
The
no,
horse
like
just does a backflip.
but like legitimately, doesn't he seems like the layer of complexity that you'd need for a comedy villain, not the layer of complexity you need to carry the weight of the conflict of the story that he's supposed to, and he doesn't. It's just shocking to me.
Also, within like the first 2 minutes of them showing off Fright Night, I started laughing really, really badly. Whenever he summons his horse, because he takes the pumpkin and throws it like a Pokeball,
Mm-hmm.
and then the horse just pops out.
Yeah.
Fire horse, I choose you. It was, I don't know.
And then as opposed to like the cleverly built up foreshadowing of like you turn into what you are and Bender's son being there and all that in the Fairly Odd Parents, this one has, well, here's a book I found at the library that has his weakness in it. Like,
It has the answer.
And Tucker just so happened to have a trick or treat thing. Like, that's their that's, by the way, that's Sam and Tucker's contribution to this story. Literally,
Is that one had a jack-o'-lantern that got scorched, being the only pumpkin that you see aside from in the first minute of the episode.
Yeah, and then she brings a book. Like, that's
Yeah.
their contribution. That's literally it. And then same thing with the parents. The parents only exist to give Danny the random ghost tech he needs to help the day. That's literally every character in this is only there for one very specific gotta bring X item. It's like Danny Phantom the potluck episode. Like, what did you bring, Danny? I got the sword from the ghost zone that needs to kick off this plot. What did you bring, Sam? I brought the convenient weakness of the bad guy.
I just imagine like during the final fight, wherever he's like holding the sword with Fright Night, the Asian jock guy just kicks down the door. It's like, Danny, I brought those cheese puffs you needed. Oh, thank God. He eats one of them and instantly gets stronger than Fright Night or some stupid crap like that.
Yeah, and I want to make it clear, like, listen, this isn't some like early installment weirdness of Danny Phantom, because season 1 has some really fantastic episodes. Like, and this was not like early in season 1. This was, I believe, mid to late. So there was plenty of time.
This was like 3 episodes from the end of season 1, actually. I may be wrong, but I think that's how they listed on Hulu, at least.
But yeah, no, it's definitely towards the very end. So, all right. Well, I mean, I think Monsters, you've been quiet. Do you?
Well, I mean, the only other point of comparison I was thinking about is the use of Timmy's parents versus the use of Danny's parents.
Oh.
And how they interact with the trick-or-treaters.
I like that.
That's true. Timmy's parents were funnier.
Yeah.
In a sense, they both gave out advice, with the Danny's parents doing the Code 5, Code 5.
Did you guys know that if you right-click in Word document processing
I'm pretty
programs,
sure AJ already knew that, though.
it brings up a bevy of like additional facts, and there are things that you can do, functions, however they say it.
A variety of control options when editing documents.
when they did that part of the episode, I honestly I did one of those like I did a nose laugh, because that honestly made me laugh. It was really funny. I was like, that's such a stupid thing. That's so out of context, but really funny.
That's a point of comparison. PDAs, I mean, this is not the fault of anything, but they could have known, but PDAs have fallen hilariously out of fashion, and yet, like, that joke about teaching basic internet, like basic computer use, only gets funnier now that, like, literally everyone, like, AJ's age is computer literate, you know, well beyond computer literate. Like, you know, that joke in 2001 is like, okay, well, you know, right-clicking on Word documents, that's, a lot of people have done that. But now in 2018, it's just like...
Dude, now, honestly, some kids might not get that joke because half of everything is like touchscreen now.
Oh, God.
It's like, what do you
don't
mean
say
right
that.
click?
What's a computer?
Is that like an iPad, but weirder?
Have you not seen that iPad commercial?
No, what is it?
Okay. Oh, that's the end of the commercial. A girl does everything with her iPad, and then a neighbor's like, oh, a nice little computer. And she's like, what's a computer? Because iPads are better than computer. It's dumb.
So sad.
All right, we got to move on though. So Monsters. I mean, I think Ash and I we both agree, right? Fairly OddParents episode way better.
Oh no, I 100% agree.
Okay, good. Yeah, this is I mean, very, very underwhelming for Danny Phantom. I see.
Unfortunately,
I think really the things that save it are the little bits of comedy and just the fact that Danny Phantom is entertaining on its own. Like, I still like the characters, even though Danny is acting stupid, and the tone of it's still a not great episode of Danny Phantom, and still a not great episode in general. But I think because it's not like. It doesn't do anything heinously bad. It's just more boring and underwhelming than anything else, which is why I can't really be like, oh, it's the worst thing I've ever seen. It might well be one of the worst episodes of Danny Phantom. I'm sure people are screaming season 3 in the comments, but you know. All right. So, we have a little trivia game before we bid you all adieu. This week, much like last week, we're going to mix it up a little bit. Hopefully this week will go slightly smoother, though. The way this game will work is, this is the real or scary game. So, the question is this, I'm going to state a thing that happened, and you guys are going to tell me whether it's real, a thing that happened, or scary, a thing that didn't happen. Since you are the guest, Ash, Monsters is going to go first to give you the advantage. So I'm going to state the thing. Monsters will give his answer. You'll give your answer, and I will let you know who is right.
Gotcha.
All right. And you guys ready? You hyped?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So first thing on the list. Mind you, I haven't seen all of the Fairly OddParents, so I hope nothing I say like that's intended to be fake ends up being true, but we'll see. Okay. Fact number 1. Timmy is actually over 60 years old. Real or scary, Monsters?
Scary.
Ash?
That is real.
Ash
to
is
my
correct.
knowledge.
Yep.
Yes, because
Uh,
the secret wish that he made, that
Yep.
he ended up like everyone didn't age for like 50 years and never realized it or something.
Yep. It's exactly as stupid as it sounds.
Hmm
People
That was
hate
one of
that
the episodes
episode.
that featured Kiss. I liked it. It was stupid,
Really?
but it was funny.
Oh, I remember that episode with Kiss. Yeah.
Because it was supposed to be a continuation of the Chosen One with the Sacred Wands trilogy.
Oh, the
Yeah,
It
Witch
was
was that the
supposed to
Trilogy?
be
one
like
that
a
it had
fourth
like
part.
the Lord of the Rings or the Harry Potter parody?
Yeah. They had that overarching
Wishology.
parody.
Yeah,
Yes,
Wishology, yeah.
I really liked that one, and that was supposed to be like the finale of that trilogy, and I thought it was kind of a funny thing. It's like,
Really?
oh yeah, it's been 50 years and no one realized it.
I don't think I've actually was able to make it through that whole episode. I just find that idea to be kind of just like repugnant to the series, I think, honestly, but maybe they sell it well. All right, anyway. So you actually did see that Monsters, but you didn't catch it. All right.
Yeah.
Number 2. Tucker Foley becomes mayor.
That is true.
That is true.
Yeah, that one was a gimme question. I talked about this with Monsters before. Actually, funny thing is that I was reading, I was supposed to read Kuro's comic 5 years later, plug.
Which I work on.
Plug. And I made it about 2 pages in when they mentioned that Tucker became mayor, and I was just like, wait, did that happen in the show? And then I remembered it happened, and then I got really sad, and then I didn't read anymore. It's not Kuro's fault. It's not your fault. It happened in the show. I just kind of was like, wow, that is just so stupid. I get why people don't like some of the season 3 episodes, because that is just not that he grows up to become the mayor. 14-year-old Tucker Foley is the mayor now.
He becomes the mayor right after Phantom Planet. I thought it was really, really funny that he just has a top hat in the suit top, but he's still wearing his cargo pants.
He has no interest in politics before or after, or I mean, I guess after, but like there's no.
I thought it was funny because he literally even says that it's just a starting off point for his own like tech company and stuff like that.
Oh my goodness.
Which I thought was great.
Anyway, number 3. Cosmo tells Wanda to give up being a godparent and get back in the kitchen to make him sandwiches.
Oh.
I'm going to say
Monsters.
Scary.
Ash?
It's... Oh, God, that's really hard. I want to say it's real, but I'm going to say Scary because I'm not sure. Because I think I remember that, but I'm not sure.
What'd you say again, Monster? Scary?
Yeah.
All right, you are both correct. There's some kind of like very stereotypically gender-conforming roles in the Fairly OddParents, but to my knowledge, not that exactly has happened. I wouldn't be that surprised, to be honest with you.
There's been something like that, and then she turns him into a sandwich. Like,
I tried to be specific to make sure in case there was some joke on that, yeah, but anyway. All right. Number 4. The box ghost starts attending Danny's school. Monsters.
Real.
Scary.
Ash is correct. By the way, the
I
score...
would love that, by the way. That would be great.
I know, that sounds like... I mean, they went the other route of trying to make him, like, legitimately evil, but I feel like the box ghost being, like... Oh, I don't want to say, like, Rocknaldo, but just, like, trying to be an ally and kind of, like, being really bad at it would have been an interesting episode.
I loved the Pandora's Box episode. It was really funny. They make him legitimately evil, and then they just take it all away from him.
People don't like that episode. I honestly haven't seen it in ages. I just know that people don't like it for some reason.
I like it only because they like completely crap on him the entire time, even though he is being legitimately evil and heinous. That would have been a really cool plot point. Like he's possessing some kid in Danny's school and just pretending to be a student there just because he's sick of being a ghost or something.
I mean, my favorite like play with the box ghost is in Ultimate Enemy where this boxed lunch.
The kid? Ghost. Oh yeah. No, I forgot about that. No.
But what?
Beware.
Yeah.
Oh, no. That's such a scary image in my head.
All right, so Ash is at 4. You've gotten every single one of them right, and Monsters is at 2. So this is the last question. Monsters, you can try to not be as pathetic.
Great.
Monsters.
That's so nice.
Monsters, you're a great co-host and a great friend. You're amazing. I just want
But
to.
I'm awful at trivia. Yeah, I know.
I was just trying to balance it out with some praise, and I don't want the people at home to think that I actually don't like you, but because you're a really good friend, I like you enough as a friend that I can rag on you.
This
So.
is where they announce the fact that I'm the new co-host.
Yeah, introducing Ash.
Yeah. Well, there may be a recast in the recast. We got to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pie Guy's
That's a
gone.
joke.
Anyway.
That's a joke. Yep. Anyway.
Still his channel, but
The final question. Or actually, sorry, there's 2 more questions. Wow, I'm terrible at this. I'm the worst host. Monsters, make fun of me.
Ha! You're the worst host.
you just go, ha.
All right.
Pie Guy, you are the box ghost of trivia ghosts.
Okay, so Ash is at 4 and Monsters is at 2. We have 2 more questions left. Monsters, you could theoretically tie him.
Okay.
And at the very least, you can, be a little better. Get a little aim for just self-improvement is all you need. You know what I mean? Don't even worry that Ash is in this competition.
I will take your words into heavy consideration.
All right. So the next prompt is Timmy's parents used to bust ghosts.
Not true. Scary.
That is true.
That is true.
It's a play
Oh,
on Danny
God.
Phantom. They even have Danny on one of the screens, and they're literally it's the episode's just a parody of Ghostbusters, and I thought it was really funny.
Yeah. Maybe that'll be on the recast. Maybe we do that episode and then an
Yeah.
episode that focuses on Danny's parents.
That's when you find out that it's just they were Danny's parents, and then Danny just eventually disappeared or something, so they had another kid.
Wait, is that a pun? Danny just disappeared.
Yes.
There's a great big flash. Everything just changed.
They do have those prequel episodes where it's Danny's mom and the vampire guy before.
Vampire
Right.
guy, Vlad. Don't call him
Well,
vampire
Vlad.
guy.
Sorry, I haven't
they
seen
have-
Danny Phantom in a long
they
time.
have
I own the
done
complete
a
series on
li-
DVD.
They have done a little bit of stuff with alternate timelines on Danny Phantom. That could be one of them.
Right.
All right. The last prompt, Ash is up 5-2. The last prompt is, speaking of that, Mr. Vampire Guy, Vlad, bought the
Oi.
nasty burger and banned teenagers. Monsters.
Real.
That is
Ash.
true. That is true. I love that episode, by the way.
Ding, ding, ding. Is that the one where he he just
That's-
uses political power to just
That's-
roll over
he-
everything?
Yeah, that's like the first episode after he becomes the mayor, and he just like starts making everything that Danny loves horrible just because he can. And
I
it's
know.
great.
I love
love
that
it.
about Vlad. I love how petty he is just
He's-
all the time.
I'm gonna spend my entire afterlife terrorizing a teenager. Why? Because I hate his dad.
All right, Ash is our winner. 6 out of 6. Good job, man.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm a nerd.
Monsters, you got a 50%, so that's still technically failing.
I feel like that's a score I usually get.
Yeah. I mean, if it makes anyone feel better, I flunked both times that I was the trivia guy. I was quizzed. I lost to Chugga, and I don't even remember the other one that I did, but I lost it. Adventure Time.
I think it was versus Eric.
It was,
right?
yeah, I lost it in Adventure Time and SpongeBob, which are 2 of shows I should know the most about, but don't, apparently. So I only tease because I am also a loser as well.
We're all
Monsters,
losers.
we need to get... losers win. Losers win.
Yeah.
I was the winner though, so sorry.
So you're the winner.
Yes, I win.
Ash, do you have anything to plug? Maybe a Patreon?
I don't have a Patreon yet. I am working on it. I do have. Well, of course, I'm going to plug 5 years later. Make sure you guys
Mhm.
check that out. You've probably heard this a lot from the episodes that Kuro's been in because I rewatched a couple before I was on this. It was really funny. Read 5 years later. Check out my. This is going to sound cringy, but check out my Deviant art.
You're an
Oh,
actual...
Dad.
No, hang on. You're an actual... I just want to... Because you said that. You're an actual artist. You're not just like a guy that posts weird stuff. You are an actual artist, and I've seen your work, and I really like it. So...
Yeah, it's I just recently started like getting more into actually doing art. Before I did it as just kind of a hobby. But since I've joined the ink tank and stuff like that, I've been a lot more committed to it. Like I do commissions, contract work, and stuff like that. Um, but yes, at sake at sake of sounding cringy, check out my deviant art. Um, O-R-Ash. Those are dash symbols, not the word dash. Um, check out, like, I've been posting Inktober stuff there. I do my regular Fusion Fridays every Friday with
Yes, I love
Ben
that.
10 characters, random characters, and then I also do a cringe fusion of the week. This past week, I did Buddy the Elf and Beetlejuice. And
Okay.
or a fan favorite that people will never leave me alone for is Mr. Krabs and Sailor Mars from Sailor Moon that I called Sailor Money.
Oh,
And I did a little dub of the theme song. I think it's on my YouTube. But it was literally, I just took the couple seconds of the song where it's like Sailor Mercury, Sailor da da da, and whenever it says Sailor Mars, I just jump in and go Sailor Money, and it's funny to me at least.
I'm looking at a fusion of Big Bird and Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Oh God, yeah, yes.
Okay.
you see,
If
it's
you
interesting
can-
because I'm not looking at that picture, but I'm just imagining that in my head right now.
It's the
Hey,
scared,
listen,
the
you
most
don't
scared thing you'll ever see.
You at home don't have to do that. Just click through to his DeviantArt page. There will be a link in the description.
And also my my Instagram, which is just the same thing, O.R.Ash, on the Instagram. I do the same stuff on there, but on there I also post like little I do a little bit of video stuff every now and then. I have a YouTube, but I'm still setting it up. But if you've ever heard of the app TikTok / Musically, where memes are dreams and live there, I like doing stuff on there, and I post some on Instagram sometimes. So
Okay.
if you want to see an ugly guy be funny, go there.
All right, guys. So that has been another successful question mark recast. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Ash, for doing this. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
For some reason, it's hard to find people who want to talk about Fairly Odd Parents and Danny Phantom. I'm not quite sure why, but
I like both of those shows. If y'all ever want me back, just let me know. I like other cartoons too.
all right, sweet man. We'll be in touch.
Yeah.
All right. PIEGUYRULZ out.
Catch you guys later.
Goodbye.